3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Thursday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. 4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter X at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Ryan Botcher, Moist Mike, rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time. Chris Brockman of the Rich Eisen Show, mega Boston Celtics fan. He's going to stop by 40 minutes from now. The host of Lakers Nation, Trevor Lane, will join us in the second hour of the show. And to kick off the final hour of the extravaganza for today, ESPN college basketball analyst and dear friend of the show in Seth Greenberg. I got a lot of good sleep last night. I woke up late today. I rolled over at about 9:10 a.m. Eastern time. And when I looked at my phone, I saw 10 different people texting me. And I'm like, uh-oh, what the heck happened overnight? And what happened actually was about an hour before I elected to wake up, Adrian Wojnarowski had a Woj bomb. So let me recall earlier in the week where Shams Charania, in the next chapter of Woj versus Shams said that the Lakers are zeroing in on J.J. Redick to be their next head coach. And if you listen to this show, you know I am not a fan of J.J. Redick, and I would instantly be rooting for the Los Angeles Lakers to go 0-82 if J.J. Redick became their next head coach, because I think he's arrogant, I think he's smug, and quite frankly, I think he's very condescending, and I'm not a fan of J.J. Redick, and it would just be to basically genuflect to LeBron James, so you keep LeBron James there, you probably draft Bronny, and then boom, you have J.J. Redick coaching the team and just being the facade there in L.A. as LeBron's really the coach. But that thought is now, I don't want to say evaporating because it still may happen, but that thought is placed on hold because Adrian Wojnarowski's information, who, let me remind you, very close to the Hurley family, from Bob Hurley Sr. to Bobby Hurley and Dan Hurley. Very, very close confidant of the Hurley family is Adrian Wojnarowski. And Adrian Wojnarowski's report today is earth-shattering information and can not only rock college basketball, but it could rock the NBA. And that is, of course, as you know, the Lakers are targeting Danny Hurley as their next head coach. Now, let me be clear. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. And as I sit here today and you ask me, Zach, gun to your head, is Danny Hurley going to be the next head coach of the Lakers? I'm very uncomfortable in answering that question if a gun's to my head, by the way, because it very well could happen. But in this case, I still think Danny Hurley's going to be back at UConn. But why would he take the Lakers' job? Do I really need to explain it? A, it's the Lakers, and also the money is going to be absurd. Think about it. If Monty Williams, who made the NBA Finals with the Suns, if he makes $13 million a year on a 6-year contract, that's what Danny Hurley is going to be making. So they're basically going to be doubling or even a little bit more than doubling his current salary per year at UConn. So I'm thinking this deal, if it does go down, and we don't know if it will. Danny Hurley had a practice today, according to John Fanta. He told his team, yes, he's talking to the Lakers, but it's business as usual right now. And everything's operating as normal. But I would think if this deal does go down, if I just had to guesstimate, it would be a 6-year deal worth $80 million in that line. Now, Botcher, you look at me like I'm crazy. You don't think it's going to be that much?
Is it more than that?
You think more than that?
Yeah.
That's a pretty lucrative contract. $80 million over 6 years is $13.3 million a season. No, I just used my calculator to figure that out. And that's about what Monty Williams got.
He's better than Monty Williams.
I would agree, but you're going from college to the NBA. Yeah, he's not going to get pop money. But that would make him one of the highest paid coaches in the NBA. But here's my message to Danny Hurley. And this is where I really want to start the show. Don't take the Los Angeles Lakers job. Yes, you'll be making a lot more money with the Los Angeles Lakers than you would be with the UConn Huskies. Yes, there's no doubt about it. In the year of 2024, it is easier to be a pro coach than it is to be a college coach. But the reason why I don't think you should take this job, even though he does have NBA aspirations, is I don't think you're a good fit. You got to know yourself. And when you look at Danny Hurley and why so many of us love him, It's because of his passion. It's because of his intensity. He's a demanding coach, and he's also a quirky dude. And usually those types of coaches don't last long in the NBA with this era of NBA players. This is an era of NBA players that they like to get coddled, and they don't like to have a coach that is a drill sergeant and that is very demanding. Look how rare it is to have a Tom Thibodeau in the NBA, and he's voted as the least likable coach in the league by the players. It's not because Tom Thibodeau isn't a good coach. It's because Tom Thibodeau is demanding, and it's a grind to play for him, and it's a grind to play for Danny Hurley. And I just don't think Danny Hurley in LA is going to be a fit from a personality and coaching standpoint. So if I'm him, I would stay at UConn. But as I know, money talks. The Lakers are an enormous brand. And this is a creme de la creme job in the sport. And a lot of us, if we got told, hey, you could get a job where you're going to be paid double, maybe more than that, and it's an easier job, most of the times, 9.9 times out of 10, you would take that job with that understanding. But this should be the 1/10 of a time that you don't take it. Because we have seen before college coaches in football and in basketball go to the pros. And usually more times than not, it doesn't work rather than it working. I think the world of Danny Hurley. I love Danny Hurley as a coach. I was on the Danny Hurley train early on when he was at Rhode Island. And I got to see at Temple University when Temple played Rhode Island. Bobby Hurley was actually on his staff. Danny and Bobby Hurley both screamed like maniacs. It was so fun to watch. It was awesome. And I thought to myself, maybe one day Danny Hurley was going to be coaching St. John's. And St. John's has hired a bunch of coaches. Years ago, I was saying Danny Hurley needs to be the next head coach of St. John's. And he eventually got the UConn job, and he has brought UConn back. He has made UConn back to their dynastic blue blood ways. That's what Danny Hurley has done. And he is a back-to-back champion with a chance for an actual three-peat this year. He has UConn humming. They are phenomenal. They are awesome. They are sensational. And it would be a shame if he did elect to leave, but I can't understand why. Because it would be more than double the money, and it's an easier job, but I just don't think he meshes in the pros. There's just certain coaches, when they go from college to the pros, you could say, okay, I could see it. Other coaches where you just go, I can't see it. And when it comes to Danny Hurley, because of what made him great and how demanding he is and how much of a maniac he is on the sideline, I just don't see that style working. Like, can you imagine him chewing out LeBron James? As LeBron gets, he just finished making a putt on the 17th hole of his career, and now he's teeing off on the 18th hole. Anthony Davis, he would be running to the ground. I don't think his body would hold up with Danny Hurley as the coach. It's just a difference in the type of era that we're in right now and the way that this sport is. The NBA now is a sport where the star players are coddled, and we always talk about resting and load management and all that nonsense. And what made Danny Hurley great and what turned UConn around is because of how much he asks out of these players. So I just don't think it's the proper fit. I don't, and it's not just, because he's going to Lakers. This would be for probably every job in the NBA. Now, the NBA is always going to be there. I don't know if the Lakers will always be there for him. And it's going to be a tough decision. And I think this is a legitimate decision that Dan Hurley has to make. And could he be maybe using the Lakers to get more money on his contract? I guess. Does he need to do that, though? He could have got the Kentucky job if he wanted it. He could have. He elected to stay at UConn. And I know they extended him after or changed up his contract after his first championship. How haven't they done that, though, yet? How haven't they already figured out a new deal with Danny Hurley to reflect the type of coach he is in college basketball? That doesn't make sense to me. That's a nonsensical approach that the UConn Huskies are operating in right now. So I guess they're just hoping that he's not going to leave, and maybe this will change something and make them come to the table, because he said no to Kentucky. But are you going to say no to the Lakers when they're going to come calling to you with a bare minimum offer, I would think, of $80 million over 6 years? And then guess what? If you don't work out in the NBA, you have like a good season, a second good season, and the players end up hating your guts, you can always go back to college. And you could walk back to college and people would be begging for your services. Look, Brad Stevens has been away from college for a decade. People still bring up his name. You take a look at, in Chicago with Billy Donovan. He was at the Thunder, then the Bulls. He's been gone for a long time. His name still always gets thrown into the mix. So college will always be there. The pros will also always be there for Danny Hurley. But this is the Lakers. And this is what makes it a difficult decision. But we saw Danny Hurley's father stay at St. Anthony's for all those years. He could have got a pro job. He could have got a college job. Bob Hurley Sr. knew what he was born to do, and that was to coach in high school. I think Danny Hurley is the perfect definition of what a college coach is. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be willing to alter, he wouldn't be willing to adjust, and there's no way he couldn't have success in the NBA. I just don't think it's a fit with the Lakers, and I don't think it's a fit in the NBA right now. And he's even talked about it before. He's got to mature a little bit more, and he's got to mellow out a little bit more to go coach in the NBA. And I think it'd be too soon. I really would. And this would be an enormous contract, and I think in 3 years or less, we'd be looking at Danny Hurley, and he's probably trying to get back into the college game. Danny Hurley is a college coach. He should stay in college, and I hope he does. And my gut tells me he will, but I can't say that with 100% certainty. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Do you think Danny Hurley should take the Lakers' job? What say you? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. Also, we have a poll question up there. It's a question that I just asked. You can find it on Twitter, at Zach Gelb or INF Sportsnet. Should Dan Hurley leave UConn and take the Lakers job? Right now, 59.9% early returns say no. 40.1% say yes. Take a timeout. When we come on back, if Danny Hurley does leave the UConn Huskies, I have not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 names that could replace him in Storrs, Connecticut. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Infinity Sports Network, and it is the Zach Gelb Show. The big story of the day. It's not that the NBA Finals tip off tonight, which is crazy. After how long of a layoff we've had waiting for the NBA Finals, I thought for sure the opening segment of the show yesterday when I signed off at 6 p.m. Eastern time for tomorrow, which is today, Thursday, I would have thought for sure it was going to be game one of the NBA Finals. But then Woj had a Woj bomb that the Lakers are targeting Danny Hurley as their next head coach. Now, we'll see if Danny's going to take the job. If he does, I have 5 names for you that could replace Danny Hurley at UConn. But I really love this story, even though I don't want to see Danny Hurley leave and depart the UConn Huskies, and I hope he does stay. But the reason why I love this is because I can't stand J.J. Redick. And this feels like it's J.J. Redick, if Danny Hurley does get the job, just getting left at the altar. And I can't wait to see tonight how they cover this on ESPN. Because everyone was thinking yesterday that JJ was going to be the coach of the Lakers. Now there's a report about Danny Hurley. Samter, I don't know if they'll bring it up. Mike Breen can do whatever he wants at ESPN. He is a legend. He is a sensational broadcaster. He is the voice of the NBA and the NBA Finals. And I love Mike Breen. But don't you have to bring this up in some capacity to JJ Redick? Like, even if you just make a joke about it. But I don't know how you do this broadcast tonight. And I get it. The main course, the filet mignon at the wedding tonight, is the NBA Finals with the Celtics hosting the Dallas Mavericks. But I don't get how you don't bring this up tonight. I think it's on Mike Breen tonight and Mike Breen's very witty, going back to when he was an update anchor on the Imus in the Morning extravaganza. Mike Breen, I know him. He's a hilarious dude. Whether it's just directly bringing it up to JJ Redick or making some vague joke, you need to bring this up, Samter. It would be broadcasting malpractice if my friend, the great Mike Breen, does not bring this up in some capacity to JJ Redick tonight.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's tough because you got an ESPN guy in Woj reporting it, but you've got an ESPN guy in JJ who's involved in it.
An ESPN guy loosely. Yeah, okay, he just got, I know he's been there for the last few years, but he was planning on leaving you anyway. So who gives a rat's ass about him right now?
What I mean is he's actually on the ESPN broadcast.
Yeah.
I mean, JJ would have to be, like, they would have to talk about it ahead of time. He would have to be okay with it.
And I don't think JJ Redick does a very good job at taking jokes. I'm just going to go on a limb on that one. Very serious.
I will just say this. I would be surprised if they make any mention of it whatsoever with JJ there. Like, maybe during one of the, like, segments, they might mention, here's the report. But at the end of the day,
it's the biggest story in basketball today. This Danny Hurley thing is the biggest story in basketball
if he gets
today.
hired, for sure.
No,
but
even today, just a report that we have sat here for over a week talking about the NBA Finals because of how long this layoff is. What else is there to say before the game that we haven't said already?
No, I'm not saying for our purposes. I'm saying for ESPN.
Even for them.
For ESPN, as they're previewing the finals, they might make mention of it, but I don't think they make mention of it with JJ there.
You're probably right. That's a shame, though. It's a real shame. And you know what? Maybe this is an unhealthy hatred that I have of JJ Redick, but I thoroughly enjoyed, you know, that photo where the guy is looking at the sexy girl walking past him while holding the hand of his girlfriend. So that's like a big meme on the internet. Right away, after I got my coffee and my brain started working this morning, after processing this news, I said, oh, I got to create a Photoshop with Rob Pelinka being the guy holding the hand of JJ Redick as Dan Hurley is walking by. And I put that on my social media. And you know what I really did enjoy, Samter? Searching sad-looking JJ Redick photos. And this is not an anti-Duke. I'm not an anti-Duke guy. Growing up as a kid, I actually liked JJ Redick. When he was on the college basketball game cover, I was a fan of JJ Redick. But the last 2-3 years in his media career and just how condescending and obnoxious he is and how he just never smiles. And he went on that Boston radio station, 98.5, the Sports Hub, and was asked legitimate basketball questions. And he was just being a jerk. I enjoy people like that potentially getting stood up. I do. I enjoy it. Even though I don't want to see Danny Hurley take the job, and my preference is for Danny Hurley to stay with the Huskies, I can't lie. I'm not going to be devastated if he goes to the Lakers because JJ thought this job was handed to him on the silver spoon coming from the king, LeBron James. And imagine them going back to do that dopey podcast now. Imagine LeBron James and JJ doing the podcast. Hey, JJ, I tried. I did everything in my power. And then Danny Hurley swoops in and says, hey, you want to be my assistant? You want to work under me? Oh, that would be wonderful.
It does sort of feel like the Udonis Haslem Iverson thing. It's like, hey, you know, it sucks.
Yeah.
But it is Iverson. Like, it is Danny Hurley, who's a two-time defending national champion in college basketball, and he clearly can lead a team.
J.J. Redick is not qualified to be the Lakers coach. It doesn't mean that he can't get the job, right? We've seen guys go from playing or from the broadcast booth right to getting a job. But if you base it off qualifications, like Sam Cassell should get the job before J.J. Redick. Even James Borrego should get the job before J.J. Redick. Now, sometimes you get your first head coaching job with no previous experience, and it works. But I don't think J.J. Redick is qualified enough to get the job, and I think he should have to be an assistant before getting the head coaching job. But to J.J.'s credit, and I'll say something nice about J.J., he's put himself in a spot where he's been obviously attractive enough to more than just one organization to be in the running for a head coaching job. But based off purely qualifications, I don't think he's qualified.
One thing I'll say, though, is I think there's a difference between qualifications and experience, right? He doesn't have the experience, that's for damn sure. But to be qualified for something, you just have to be a good basketball mind who understands how to draw plays and run a team and be able to communicate with people
No,
to be a head
the biggest
coach.
part.
Tell me.
It's this era of the NBA. You have to be a player's coach, and you have to, like J.J. Redick, does he ever rip an NBA player? He did go after Doc Rivers, a coach, but has he ever ripped an NBA player? And I think J.J. Redick is actually more conducive to the NBA in the year of 2024 as a coach, what players are looking for, than what Danny Hurley would be. Now, Danny Hurley is by far and away the better coach. Danny Hurley runs circles around J.J. Redick. But because Danny Hurley is demanding, and because Danny Hurley wants the most out of his players, and in a nice way, he's a maniac, that doesn't fit this day and age of the NBA. And coaches like that in the NBA now don't last very long. Where JJ would come from the player's view, where it's basically kiss everyone's ass. Oh, you missed the shot. Slap him on the ass. You'll get him next time. Don't worry. Oh, you want to take off 20 games in the regular season? Don't worry. I'll allow that. So in a weird way, Samter, JJ actually may be the better fit. Even I will say that as a JJ Redick hater. JJ may be a better fit for the Lakers than Danny Hurley, but it doesn't mean that J.J. Redick is more qualified than Danny Hurley.
And at the end of the day, LeBron James is the coach of whatever team he's on anyway, so it doesn't really matter who the coach is as long as LeBron is there. So hire whoever and they'll be happy.
Okay, so if Danny Hurley does leave UConn to take the Lakers job, here are my 5 names that could replace Danny Hurley at UConn in no order. Bruce Pearl, who is currently at Auburn. We know Bruce Pearl is a Northeast guy too, even though it's been a long time since he lived in the Northeast. But that is an energetic, passionate coach. He kind of feels similar to Danny Hurley in a lot of ways. And you know he's never leaving to go to the NBA. Here's another one. And I would hate for this to happen to Providence. Because Providence lost Ed Cooley and they found the right replacement. I think Kim English, the coach of Providence, even after 1 year being there, I know he's at George Washington before, he will be a rock star in this sport. And it would be a sensational move by the UConn Huskies. How about little more Big East on Big East crime? You know Rick Pitino will want a bigger job than the one that he has right now. And that's not saying anything negatively about St. John's. It's being realistic. Like, Rick Pitino would have crawled back to Kentucky if they would have been interested in him, but they weren't interested in him. So maybe they look to just kind of continue to capture this greatness of UConn for like 3 more years, and that's Pitino's final stop. And then here are the 2 names that I think are probably most realistic. Well, actually, one's realistic. The other one, I don't know where this guy's mind is at. But Scott Drew won a championship at Baylor. He saved that Baylor program. It's maybe the greatest rebuild we've ever seen in the history of college sports. He didn't take the Kentucky job when Kentucky was begging him. But the Kentucky job comes with more pressure than the UConn job. So if Scott Drew is looking for a big job, UConn is a blue blood. UConn is a big job, and it's not much as a pressure cooker as the Kentucky job is. So you got to make a phone call to Scott Drew and hear Scott Drew say no. But you know what I think would be? I don't know if it's a number one candidate, but if you ask me right now, Zach, you have to make one guess on who the next head coach is of UConn, assuming Danny Hurley leaves and take the Lakers job. It's actually Kamani Young, who right now is on that staff as an assistant. He has been at UConn since 2018. And I know people could say, well, Zach, can't UConn get a bigger coach? Sure. But Kamani Young being there would be very important because it would save all these guys from probably hitting the transfer portal. It would be very similar to what Michigan did, where Michigan lost Jim Harbaugh after winning a national championship, big name coach, and Sherrone Moore ended up taking over. So Kamani Young has not left UConn to become a head coach, which is surprising at this point. With all the success that he's had, he could be able to get, and I think he would end up getting the job. That would be my guess right now if, in fact, Hurley does leave. So those are the 5 names that I thought of. Bruce Pearl, Kim English, Rick Pitino, Scott Drew, and Kamani Young. And I'll tell you, I saw, was it Rob Douster, I think it is? And that's the site that Fanta works for, which I enjoyed those guys, a Field of 68. And Douster, I think, is a UConn graduate, and he's been covering college basketball for years. I saw him throw out the name Ed Cooley. It is weird. I have never turned on a coach quicker than Ed Cooley. I used to love Ed Cooley. But the way Ed Cooley left Providence for Georgetown, I said this, I tweeted this out, I'd rather have Kim English right now than Ed Cooley. Even though Ed Cooley is a lot more accomplished, I have soured significantly on Ed Cooley, and I would not want to see him get the UConn job if, in fact, Danny Hurley does leave. Okay, we'll take a break. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Chris Brockman is on the Rich Eisen Show, and he's going to join us when we come on back in about 5 minutes. Chris is a big-time Boston Celtics fan. We'll get his view on not only Danny Hurley, but also, more importantly for Chris's sake, Game 1 of the NBA Finals as Kyrie Irving returns to Boston tonight in a Dallas Mavericks uniform as Boston and Dallas both 4 wins away from being NBA champions. So we will take that time out. We'll come on back with Chris. Update time first. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flag.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your home and auto. Save when you bundle. Get a quote at Progressive.com. The last coach to repeat as NCAA champs ultimately left for the NBA, and Danny Hurley now follow. ESPN reports the Lakers are targeting the UConn coach for their vacancy and are prepared to offer a massive long-term deal. UConn just gave women's coach Gino Auriemma a 5-year extension. For certain teams in sports, it's championship or nothing. The Celtics are one of those and go for their 18th title starting tonight when they host the Mavericks in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Celtics have become close in recent years, but haven't won it all since 2008, and they're lost their only title since '86. Head coach Joe Mazzulla is aware of what's at stake.
Relatively young team, but a tested team of what the NBA brings you over the course of a season and a career, and so everybody handles that differently. And so you just trust what the guys have gone through and the process that they have.
The Celtics will have Kristaps Porzingis back from injury. Baseball this afternoon. Guardians and Royals are even at 3 top 8. It's the Blue Jays on top of the Orioles, 6-5 top 9. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X and like us on Facebook. Our handle is at INF Sportsnet on X and INF Sportsnet for Facebook.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
Game one of the NBA Finals is tonight as the Boston Celtics welcome back a foe in Kyrie Irving, who is, of course, with the Dallas Mavericks, along with Luka Doncic. However, game one of the NBA Finals has been hijacked today because of this Adrian Wojnarowski report that Danny Hurley is getting targeted by the Los Angeles Lakers to be their next head coach. We'll see if it ends up happening. The poll question today, at Zach Gelb, at INF Sportsnet, should Dan Hurley leave UConn and take the Lakers job? Currently 61.7% say no, and 38.3% say yes. This portion of the show is sponsored by the new Hyundai Tucson, available with complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Now it's easy to use your phone to control your Tucson. We should be joined momentarily by Chris Brockman, who is, of course, with the Rich Eisen Show. The first time I met Chris was actually in this studio when I was filling in on the Maggie and Perloff show. He's a friend, longtime friend of Andrew Perloff, and I guess he was up for an Emmy, and that's why he was in New York City, and Perloff brought him in, and we were talking a little bit about the Boston Celtics. He is a mega Celtic honk, and we know he's going to be rooting for the Celtics tonight, as that is his childhood team. So we'll see how the NBA Finals do play on out. To give my official prediction, I'm going to say that the Boston Celtics are going to win the NBA Finals, and the Boston Celtics are going to win the NBA Finals in 6 games. It seems, I don't want to say everyone, actually. It just seems like a lot of people are on the Dallas Mavericks in terms of the media world, and that's the way that it just feels like this is playing on out right now. And a big reason, and it's not really from an X's and O's standpoint in this series, but a big reason why I feel like you're going to see the Boston Celtics win this series. Whoever's been the team in the NBA postseason, like I thought it was going to be the Denver Nuggets, well, then they lose. And then everyone thinks it's going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then they lose. And then now a lot of people are on the Dallas Mavericks. So I just look at Boston. There's not been a reason to really praise them. And that's because their road has been rather easy to get to the NBA Finals. But now this is go time, and you got to see the Boston Celtics finally rise to the occasion with this core and this team being better than what it's been in years past. I know you have Tatum. I know you have Brown. And Al Horford's been there forever. But you take a glance at having Drew Holiday on this team and a championship player like that and the importance of a Drew Holiday, in addition to also having Kristaps Porzingis, and it looks like he's going to be back, and we'll see how healthy he is. I just think this team is a better, more well-rounded team, even though Luka Doncic is the best player in the series, and Luka and Kyrie are the better duo than Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The Celtics, to me, are the more well-rounded team, and it feels like for a team that's just been so good all throughout the year that this is a squad that just isn't getting enough national credit and enough praise, because they're one of those teams where we just expect and anticipate that until they end up getting a NBA championship, they're just not going to get their moment in the spotlight. So that's where I kind of lie with the Boston Celtics in this series. I think the Celtics are going to win this series, and I'm going to pick them to win this series in 6 games. I hope it does go 7. I do. I hope that this is a 7-game series. I would love to see it be a 7-game series, and it wouldn't shock me if the Dallas Mavericks end up winning this series because of how great Luka and Kyrie has been, and Jason Kidd getting Kyrie to buy in, and the moves they made at the deadline and what PJ Washington has done. It wouldn't shock me if the Mavs win. I just expect that the Boston Celtics are going to find a way to win this series. All righty, let's go out to a crazy Boston Celtic fan. And he works, obviously, on the Rich Eisen Show. That is Chris Brockman, kind enough to join us right now for a few minutes as we'll get the Celtic fan perspective on this one. Chris, great to see you. How you been, my man?
Zach, what's up, buddy? Thanks for having me. How's everything?
Everything's been great. So kind of take me through how you're feeling with this Celtics team, because this is a Celtics squad that all year they've been damn great, but they haven't got the national praise because we know this is championship or bust for banner 18 for this squad.
You know, it's hilarious, and I heard you the last couple of minutes as I was getting checked in. You seem like you're the only reasonable member of the media that I've been hearing and reading for the last last week, I guess, while we waited forever for these finals to kick off. Has everyone just like only started watching basketball in the last 6 weeks? I'm so confused. This Celtics team has been historically great, historically dominant since the season started. I'm talking since late October. They've won 5 out of 6 games for the whole season. And now Dallas makes a couple of moves. Luka hits a cool step back and is cursing at Rudy Gobert and a fan sitting courtside. And now everyone's like, oh my God, Mavericks in 6. what are we doing? Look, and I understand that I'm a homer. I am an irrational Boston fan, just what we need more in the media.
A masshole is what
I'm
we
just
like
saying,
to call you guys.
Everyone calls a masshole. I totally get it. And I don't begrudge anyone for labeling us as such. But if they watched this team play, clearly they have not.
But you know what they are, Chris? Chris, this is what they are. They're the Ravens and they're the Bills. No one's going to praise them for what they did in the regular season. No one's going to praise them for this easy-ass road that they've had in the postseason so far. It's go time for this group, and we're going to see if Tatum and Brown can get it done.
Time. It's totally go time, and everyone who was saying break up the Jays for the last couple of years. Look, was it Bam Adebayo's block on Tatum in the bubble, blowing a 2-1 lead in the finals against the Warriors? Totally understand, totally valid, but now's the time. Look, everyone had to go through obstacles before they won a championship, okay? We saw it with every great superstar across the board, across the history of the league, and now is the Jays' time, and you're going to see it. I heard you say Celtics in 6. Celtics in 5.
Oh, come on. Have some cojones. You may as well just go Celtics sweep if you're going to go Celtics in 5.
Gentlemen sweep. I'm a gentleman. I'm going to play golf here in a minute. That's a gentleman's game. I'm feeling gentlemanly today.
You're not a gentleman. You're friends with Andrew Perloff. You can't be a gentleman.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Look, I think it's going to be – look, I love Luka as a player. I've actually really enjoyed watching Kyrie, the basketball player, this year. There's been no off-the-court drama, no social media drama with him. It's been really kind of refreshing. Like that guy we saw with the Cavs who was so great, you know, dropping 40 in the finals, hitting the game-winning shot. It's been awesome to see him play. But are those two guys collectively better than the Celtics team, top to bottom? Absolutely not. All we need is 15 to 20 minutes of Kristaps Porzingis. He's going to spread the floor. He's going to be disruptive around the rim. Let the Jays and Derek White and Drew and Pritchard off the bench and Big Al, let them do their thing. And I don't think this is going to be a close series. Look, that could come back to bite me. I'll be on a parade of gas bags on other shows, and that's totally fine. But the Celtics have been the best team all season long. They've been the best team in the playoffs, and they're going to be the best team in the finals.
To see the other side of it, Chris Brockman, if the Celtics were to lose this series, why is it? What concerns you the most as someone that's even very confident heading into this series?
Yeah, so just look at the 2 games that the Celtics lost in the playoffs, and there's your blueprint. It's a horrific night from shooting on the outside on behalf of the Celtics, and it's the opponents, it's the Dallas Mavericks having a historically great shooting night. It's PJ Washington hitting 6 of 8 from downtown and suddenly scoring 28 points. It's Derek Lively, it's Derek Jones, it's Kleba having a sensational just being those X factors that they have to be for Dallas to win. It's not Dallas. It's not Luka going nuclear. It's not Kyrie going for, 35 a night. I kind of expect that, actually. Like, you think about it, Dallas has to score, 120 points to beat the Celtics in every game? The Celtics offense is great. Their point differential is great. Their defense is great. We know how great Dallas's defense has been in the postseason, but they need everybody else to really elevate their games to levels that have never been seen from them. And they need Boston to shoot 8 from 38 from 3 and to just really have – you really think Boston's going to have 4 bad nights from three-point land in this series? Seems unlikely to me.
Chris Brockman, we know the fans can't stand Kyrie. They have every reason to despise him in Boston. How is that storyline, you think, going to play out early on in this series? Kyrie kind of downplayed it the other day. Yep. I don't know if it will get to him like it has in years past. What are your thoughts on that storyline being the Bostonian?
I kind of feel like I don't love this storyline. I know it's something nationally people want to talk about, but look, it's not like this Celtics team. These guys love him. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they love Kyrie. They look at him as an older brother. But we've played Kyrie in the playoffs before, swept Brooklyn a couple of years ago. So this is kind of a non-story for me, but I know the national media loves it because they're not kind of following day to day. Look, our fans going to boo the ever-loving S out of him when he touches the ball probably for all of game 1 tonight? Yeah, I would imagine so. But then hopefully after that, we can just kind of move on. I loved what Kyrie said earlier this week. He really squashed it. And you can kind of see how he's matured. He's moved on. He's in a better place in his life. And whereas in the past, he's kind of fanned the flames a little bit and kind of kept this going. That led to the bottle throwing incident a couple years ago and some of the things that has been said. And I really kind of credit him for downplaying all of this. Hopefully the fans and the rest of the media kind of take that and take his guidance there and kind of do the same. I expect it to be a little bit of a big deal, maybe tonight, but after that, not so much.
Last thing I'll ask you, Chris Brockman, because we thought we were going to be talking all about the NBA Finals today on this show, and then the Danny Hurley story drops, and it's the biggest story.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the biggest story in basketball as you got an NBA Finals game going to tip off tonight. But the interesting dynamic is ESPN has this game. We thought it was going to be J.J. Redick being the coach. Now, it won't definitely be Hurley because he could say no and go back to UConn. You've been in the sports media world for a long time. Does Mike Breen bring it up in the broadcast tonight to J.J. Redick and Doris Burke?
Very interesting question. Initially, I would have said, how can you not? But that's really not part of the storylines tonight. Even though, look, I don't know, Shams said, 2 days ago that they were focused on JJ.
Yeah.
And then Woj comes out and says, no, they're just doing due diligence. And now JJ Redick is a due diligence interview, even though he's got a podcast with LeBron. Does he mention it tonight? What can I get for odds on that? Is that a plus number that he does?
I would think it's a plus number. I think they're going to try to avoid this story, but I think it'd be broadcasting malpractice if they don't mention it.
Maybe, yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Maybe they make a joke. Maybe Doris makes a joke about it. That would be kind of the way to go. I think you kind of ha laugh. Let me throw one back your way. We had a caller on the show call in and ask me this. Say the Celtics don't win the title.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny Hurley, should he wait to see if the Celtics fire Joe Mazzulla?
Well, that's a good question.
And maybe become the Boston coach?
I think there's a 0% chance that Joe Mazzulla isn't coaching the Celtics next year.
That's what I said. And the thing is, look, I don't like the Lakers, but they're not where the Celtics are right now. They're not ready to win a championship. They're kind of
I'd rather the Celtics job.
And retool.
I'd rather the Celtics job. You don't have to move that far. Too.
Much better job. Don't have to move, and we're ready to win a title right now.
He is Chris Brockman. Of course, you can catch him on the Rich Eisen Show. Chris, hit him straight. All right, my friend?
Thanks, Zach. Love you guys. Go C's.
There you go. Chris Brockman joining us whenever you need a Boston perspective. He's going Celtics in 5. That is some prediction. I give him credit for it. It does fit kind of the stereotypical way that you would assume that the Boston fan would kind of operate. But I respect that. I'm going 6. Season 6. What I hope happens, it goes to Game 7, and the game's just tied with about 90 seconds left. Take a timeout. When we come on back, we got to get back into this Danny Hurley story and the LeBron factor of it, too.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, away we go. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show. Day 1 of the NBA Finals, as Game 1 does commence later this evening. But the story right now is that Danny Hurley is being targeted by the Los Angeles Lakers to be their next head coach, and they're getting ready to prepare a big, fat, lucrative contract to the head coach of the UConn Huskies, where he's won back-to-back national championships. You know, 2 things off of this, because I've given you my opinion now for the last hour that I don't think Danny Hurley should take the job. I get it. It's more lucrative. It's an easier lifestyle. I just don't think his coaching style fits the NBA, where a lot of these NBA players now like to be coddled, and Danny Hurley is a demanding maniac on the sidelines. and he's a coach that has a quirky personality too. I just don't think he fits the NBA. But I think there is a LeBron James component to this and also a Mike Krzyzewski component to this as well. Now, let me get the Coach K part of this out of the way because it is a bit tongue-in-cheek. And, Samter, I'll just ask you this. Do you think Coach K, who it was rumored that he is involved in this Lakers coaching search, that they're advising him, do you think he's pushing Danny Hurley because he's a little annoyed? I'm out of the sport now. I just retired. I won 5 championships, and Danny Hurley has 2. And if Danny Hurley continues at this success rate, maybe Coach K's legacy is going to take a little bit of a hit with how quickly one Danny Hurley is able to excel in college basketball. And if he wins a few more titles, maybe he makes people forget a little bit about the great Coach Krzyzewski who dominated all those years and built Duke into what it was.
No chance. No chance.
That
If
wasn't a
anything,
serious
he's saying,
question.
dude, I got out because college basketball is impossible to coach at this point. Nobody wants to have to deal with all this portal and NIL nonsense and all this crap that's going on.
But you know what?
Coach
Small
K is
violin.
like, get out now.
Small violin, though. All these coaches that bitch and complain how difficult it is. Last time I checked, they're getting paid a pretty penny. Last time I checked, they're getting paid a fat salary. Now, don't get me wrong. Not everyone's Danny Hurley where you could go make $13, $14 million to go coach in the NBA. But most of these coaches that complain about it have no shot of ever becoming an NBA coach.
The one thing I'll say is in any job, obviously they're getting paid a lot, but in any job, even in your position, my position, if you're doing any job and they keep your salary the same and just give you more work, of course you're going to complain. Whether you're making $50,000 a year or $5 million a year, if they say, here's your salary, we're just going to make you do more than what you were doing before, you're going to be like, well, then just give me more money. Well, we can't give you more money, just do more. Well, I'm not going to do more if you're not going to give me more money. Well, you're going to kind of have to. So, like, I understand that side of it. Nobody wants to have to do more and not make more money for doing more, no matter what kind of money you're making.
But here's the thing. I'm not saying it's not stressful for Danny Hurley, but he's found a way to figure it out. And Danny Hurley is not an older coach. Danny Hurley isn't someone like a Nick Saban or a Coach K or a Roy Williams who elected to leave the sport where they could say, it's because I'm older. It's because I'm time. But then the truth comes out why they left. It's because they didn't want to adapt. Danny Hurley's decision is you either adapt and continue to do what you've been doing at a very successful level, even if it comes with the headache of the transfer portal and NIL. And I think it's easier for Dan Hurley because UConn is the brand right now in college basketball. They are a blue blood, and that's the number one talked about program right now because they've won back-to-back national championships, and they are the standard. Or you could go to the pros where it is easier, but his style and what made him great, I don't think reflects into making a great NBA coach. And he's 51. He's a young man. But if he leaves, Samter, college sports is in a rough spot. Because you know what it would be? It would follow? It followed Jay Wright. Yeah, I know Jay Wright left and retired and didn't take another college job or didn't go to the pros. Jay Wright could be a pro coach if he wants. But Jay Wright had Villanova basically where UConn was at with the 2 championships. And Jay Wright was considered one of the faces of the sport. And he was the guy, right? And he was going to be the next Krzyzewski where he was going to... This is the prestigious Los Angeles Lakers if, in fact, he does take that job. But it would be a bad thing for the sport. Because we've talked about this in college football. With Saban gone, Harbaugh, right? Winning a national championship, restoring Michigan, 3 Big Ten championships in a row. He always had NFL interest, and also he was in the NFL and came back to college, and now he's going back to the NFL to try to get the one thing that's off his resume, and that's the Lombardi Trophy. But Harbaugh could have been the face of college football for the next 20 years, and he elected to leave. So this does, to your point, say that even though I say quit the bitching and stop the complaining, and you have these millionaires freaking out over NIL and the transfer portal, you are right. They are still everyday people, even though they're on a higher pedestal. And even though we view them differently because of how much money these coaches are making, but it is easier to go coach in the pros and adapt there than it is in college. And I know at college it's his way or the highway, and that was easier for so many years. But now with NIL and the transfer portal, it does complicate it because that's a wild, wild west. I think it's good for the sport in terms of players should get paid. They should have the freedom to choose where they want to go. But since there's not really many rules with it, there's a lot of gray area and there's a lot of ambiguity. And you keep on getting told from the coaching world, even though I poke fun at it, a lot of these legends are electing to leave rather than continue in college athletics because it's different. But if you're a younger guy like Hurley, you either got to leave or you got to adapt. And there's not going to be a much better job. I get the team isn't ready to go. But from a money standpoint and a brand standpoint, not going to be many jobs that are sweeter than this.
And then it just makes you wonder, like, what, if anything, can the NCAA do to resolve this so that coaches don't want to leave the college game and go to the pros? Because there is a benefit to coaching young kids. It's not just better leadership.
It is, because then there's organization and there's stability. Right now, this is just, I talk to so many in college sports. And I'm someone that's pro NIL, and I'm someone that's pro transfer portal. There are so many things that need to happen and so many rules that need to be put into place. Because all this is now is, this is a legal way of how it used to be done. Where you'd have, right, boosters or GAs that would just like drop off bags of cash. Now they're just allowed to get the money. But there is still no set rules. And even though it has brought parity to the sport and has put a dent into some of these untouchable teams and has made them look a little bit vulnerable, this is still the Wild Wild West, and there's a lot that needs to be fixed. And here's the thing, to answer your question, I don't think there's anything they could do right now in the immediate part of this because that stuff takes litigation, it takes major changes, and that's usually always just gets delayed, and you kick the can down the road. What it's going to take is it's going to be a generational thing. Like you look at someone like Dan Lanning right now, who's 30-something years old. This is the college football that Dan Lanning knows. And it's just going to take more and more of those coaches and some changes where those guys have success and they have no NFL aspirations or no NBA aspirations. And eventually this, I'll sound like my mother here. Eventually this too shall pass, right? I always feel like that's a motherly line. And you will go through this and it will just be a new way where for so many years it's been the old way. And you're telling these older guys to basically change.
Yeah, this too shall pass. I always think of Gandalf and you shall not pass. I think that makes more sense. Listen, I hope that it doesn't, because it just seems like the college game is just getting worse and worse, both football and basketball. And when you're losing the best coaches, what?
What do you mean it's getting worse?
Well,
you're talking about the product? Like
yes.
the quality of play?
Yes.
Really?
College basketball especially. I think one and done really killed college basketball because you're getting these guys that come in for like 3 months. They play a couple games. They never go to class. They don't pay any attention to anything. They don't really care about the actual team or the winning. They just want to like improve their draft stock.
But we've seen a lot of these teams that win now are actual teams.
Sure.
Not one and done guys anymore.
Right, but the talent on those teams aren't necessarily the best talent. The best talent is there for 3 months, 4 months, and then they bounce. So I think it would be better kind of out of the baseball system where either you go straight from high school to the NBA, or if you choose college, you have to stay for at least 2 years. Because at the end of the day, what do we remember about college sports? Like these guys were there for 3-4 years, and you got to know them. Same thing, Caitlin Clark. That's why we were interested, because she was there for 3 years, lost in the finals. She was breaking career records and doing things that we hadn't seen. And then it was this run. Can she win a championship again? So, having a guy there for 4 months.
You have to separate basketball and football. Because I will say, you're probably right in college basketball. What college basketball has become. Now, the regular season does matter in college basketball. It does not matter really in the NBA. But from a viewing perspective, most of us, I think most people parachute in for 3-4 weeks out of the year for the tournament when you're filling out brackets, maybe like a week before or 2 weeks before the tournament, the conference tournament and stuff like that. So to college basketball, I will give you that. And maybe, I think you should be able to go right from high school to the NBA. And I wouldn't want to institute a minimum you have to stay. I know it's one year right now, but I don't think that would be terrible if they made him stay 2 years. But you can't do that for football. Because for football, I mean, in terms of you can't just go from high school to the NFL because there's a body development that needs to occur in football. And it's a great thing in college football that you have to stay 3 years out of high school before you could even go to the NFL draft. But I don't think college football has really been ruined by NIL and the transfer portal. Don't get me wrong, it complicates it more. And I understand why these older coaches don't like it. And there's a player that's there 1 year, he gets a signing bonus, then goes to a new school, gets another signing bonus, and maybe some of these athletes are making wrong decisions. But college football, to me, is still, in the sports world, I think it's out of the 4 major sports in America, football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. Football, we know NFL is number 1. College football is number 2. It really is. And college football, the passion, the energy, the pageantry, with all these institutions, I don't think college football, even though it's been complicated and these kids may not be making the right decisions, I don't think the actual quality of play has been taking a hit.
No, I'm not saying necessarily the quality per se. It's just, it feels like it's so much harder to follow, and it feels like it's hanging on in a way that there's cracks at the base, right?
Okay.
You have all this realignment. You've got these power conferences. It feels like eventually, right, any of the teams that are not in the power 2 or 3 conferences that end up whatever it be, right? Big Ten, SEC, and then it seems like the ACC is going to collapse at any day now.
Yeah.
Who knows what happens to the Big 12?
There's no spot for the
the
little guy
Pac-12
anymore
is
in
gone.
college football.
Yeah, it feels like college football. It's just there's so much uncertainty, and then you add NIL, and then you add transfer portal, and then you add all the top coaches, or not but many of the big name coaches wanting to leave the sport. Saban, Harbaugh. It just feels like there's a lot of uncertainty in college football. You're right. The product on the field,
there is uncertainty.
Amazing. The product on the field in college basketball, not great. College on the field in college football, fantastic. But all the other nonsense that's coming with college football, it's taking away from the joy that you normally have. So it's not quite as enjoyable because there's so many other stupid things that are there.
So the joy part, I don't feel that way.
Not the games, just the overall coverage of it.
But I don't think so. As a fan, I know this doesn't sound great because I'm a media member saying this. I don't care about the coverage of it. I care about the games as a college football fan. And each and every Saturday, I tune in, I watch, and I have a great time because I love football.
Right, but I think part of it is, okay, so the season is from what? October, November-ish until January?
No, it's September, week 1, even week 0 in August.
So September till January. But outside of January through September, that whole span of time, that's what I'm talking about.
I would I think it's actually become pretty damn close. I don't want to say 365 days, but because of the transfer portal,
right,
and there being free agency, I think the offseason has started to matter more in college football from a coverage standpoint.
No, you're right. It matters more. It's just more annoying to follow, if that makes sense.
Okay,
it's not as enjoyable. Yes, but you're right.
Fine.
There's more going on. It's just we're not when was the last time since the championship ended that we've talked about, maybe a little bit of Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning, but outside of that, all it is all this NIL crap and changes in the system and realignment and coaches leaving, and it feels like it's not the enjoyable stuff, the fun stuff to talk about. It's all the nonsense and the crap around it.
Years ago, you were talking about nothing. You're talking about nothing that time of the year when it comes to college football.
No, but I mean,
I'd rather be in the news than not being talked about at all.
Yeah, but it always felt like there was is this guy gonna get the job, or I don't know. It felt like there was more actual football to talk about, spring practices, SEC media days, and all that stuff. So I don't know. There was more of that.
All righty, we got a break here. We'll come on back. Trevor Lane is the host of Lakers Nation. He is going to join us. We'll still get to, before we get off the air today, the LeBron factor part of this with Danny Hurley and what's being said about Bronny James, and supposedly LeBron James has no involvement in this search. So we'll do some of that with Trevor Lane, who's the host of Lakers Nation, when we come on back, and more throughout the show. Seth Greenberg going to join us coming up at about 40 minutes from now at the top of the hour as well, to get his reaction about Danny Hurley potentially, nothing set in stone, but potentially leaving UConn to go take the Lakers job.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Infinity Sports Network.
John Fanta, who does a great job covering college basketball and the Big East, is kind of saying he thinks a Danny Hurley decision will be made in the next 72 hours. He said things could change, but he wouldn't expect this to be drawn out. Obviously, Danny Hurley acknowledged it today with his team that the Lakers are pursuing him, and he's had conversations with the Los Angeles Lakers for their open head coaching position. Earlier in the week, we all thought it was going to be J.J. Redick. Now there's an unknown because there's a big fish out there, and his name is Danny Hurley. When we want to talk about the Lakers, we, of course, go to Trevor Lane, who does a great job as a host of Lakers Nation, and he's kind enough to join us once again on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Trevor, always great to see you. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
Doing well. Busy, of course. Crazy day in Lakerland, but appreciate you having me on the show, Zach.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. So when you saw this Woj bomb this morning that the Lakers are targeting Danny Hurley, what was the initial reaction?
I don't think I can swear on this show, Zach, but it was complete and utter shock. Couldn't believe it because perhaps what blows me away the most out of any of this is that they kept this so quiet for so long. Yeah. All of us had been hearing it's JJ Redick. It's going to be JJ. That's the way this is going to go. This was from out of nowhere. Suddenly Dan Hurley's name pops up. I mean, that was absolutely incredible. The wee hours of the morning. And I was as surprised as everybody else was.
I get why Danny Hurley would be interested. Number one, it's the Lakers. It's now an easier lifestyle in the year of 2024 to be a pro coach rather than a college coach, and it's going to come with an enormous salary raise. They'll probably double, if not more than that, his salary than what he currently makes at UConn. But you look at the coaching style. Danny Hurley's a demanding coach. Danny Hurley has a quirky personality. We know what the NBA is nowadays. Would this be a good fit? We know he has the credentials and he's a great coach, but would this fit in an NBA locker room knowing who Danny Hurley is and what made him so great?
I think it can. I think it's going to take a bit of an adjustment on his part. It's going to take a bit of an adjustment from the players as well to understand who he is and where he's coming from. Now, he comes to it with obviously some serious credentials when you're looking at back-to-back NCAA titles. Now he's coming potentially to the NBA. He will have to adjust his style a little bit. NBA refs are a little bit different than college refs. You've got players who are making, in some cases, more than him. Given how much this deal could be, a lot of them won't be making more than him, but still, you've got players who are going to be making more than him. Superstars, guys like LeBron, AD. He will have to adjust a bit, and that will be a hurdle for him to overcome. But again, it'll be adjustment on both sides. Both the team has to understand who he is, and that's kind of just the way that he is and how he's wired. But he's also going to have to tone things down a little bit should he make this leap.
Trevor Lane here with us. What do you think the contract could be? Like I was spitballing. I said 6 years, $80 million, similar to what Monty Williams got to go to the Pistons. That's what I was kind of thinking, a little over $13 million a year for Danny Hurley.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing it will be. I would say even up to maybe 15. I mean, look, right now, when we're looking at coaches in the NBA, we're starting to see, particularly this offseason, more and more guys hit that 10 million mark. That seems to be the standard number. Now, Darvin Ham with the Lakers was sitting right around 5 million. That number's gone up quite a bit, especially this offseason. And Mike Budenholzer kind of started it off getting 10 million from the Suns, actually a little bit more than that. And now you're seeing guys get extensions right around that number. If they're going to convince Dan Hurley that he's going to leave a championship program, they're going to have to offer him something very, very significant, especially if they want to send the message that they're committing to building a program with him, which I think is an interesting shift for the Lakers in the terms of their philosophy. But if they're going to build the program with him, this is going to be a very significant financial commitment. It wouldn't shock me at all if the number winds up somewhere in that 12 to maybe even 15 million per season range.
Talking to Trevor Lane, host of Lakers Nation. So when you have a coach like Danny Hurley, I don't think he needs to use a franchise for negotiations. He got a new deal, and they changed up his deal after the first national championship. They haven't done that after the second national championship. I would have thought that would have already happened when Kentucky was pursuing him this offseason. He elected to stay in Storrs, Connecticut. Is there at all any of that thought that maybe he's using the Lakers a little bit? Not that the interest isn't genuine, but to get just more money out of UConn.
I mean, that potential is certainly there, but even so, I think the Lakers, they'll take their shot. There's only so many opportunities that you have to jump to the NBA. I mean, we saw it with Kevin Ollie, who he kind of delayed, and then maybe the opportunity slips away. And particularly when it's a team like the Lakers, a brand like that, if he really wants to make his mark at the pro level, and he said for a while that that's something he wants to do. He wants to coach in the NBA. You'd have the chance to coach LeBron. You'd have the chance to coach Anthony Davis. But it sounds like what the Lakers are going to try to sell him on. Not only do you get to coach these guys right now, but think about who we could add for the future. You want to win titles in the NBA, you're not going to find a better opportunity than to do it right now with us. So I think that even if this is some sort of negotiating ploy on the part of Hurley, I think the Lakers will take it, and they're going to take their best shot to convince him that, no, now is the time for you to make this leap.
Trevor Lane here with us. I saw Dave McMenamin put out there, LeBron James has not had any conversations with the Lakers about Dan Hurley or J.J. Redick and the coaching search in general, for that matter. A source familiar with the situation told ESPN today. People keep on saying that. That's tough for me to believe, but is that actually true that LeBron has had no say whatsoever in this coaching search?
I doubt it. I mean, I would be shocked. It would go against everything that we've seen from not just LeBron, but superstars across the league. Anytime a coach is going to be hired to a team, the superstars checked in with, not necessarily meaning they have decision-making power, but they still check in. So I don't know if it goes to that extent that he's had absolutely zero say. I highly doubt that's the case. However, the main point that he's not the decision maker here, that's been something they've been trying to drive home for over a month now. They've been trying to make sure, hey, if it's JJ Redick, it's not because of LeBron, whatever they pick. And I also like that Dave mentioned that it's because LeBron understands that they're going to have to pick a coach that's going to be around post LeBron, around after he's gone, that he wants to make sure the franchise does right by them. LeBron is saying, look, I have no hand in this. They're going to make the decision. It's not on me. Nobody's getting the job because of me. So I don't buy that he's had zero say or no conversation whatsoever, but LeBron's going out of his way to make sure it's clear that this is a Lakers decision, and all the credit or blame, it's going to fall on them.
Why do you think that is? Because I'm with you. I think that LeBron has a major say in this and a major input in it. Why do they, both sides, kind of keep on trying to push that notion away?
Well, I think that when you look at, particularly, let's say it's JJ Redick, and LeBron obviously is good friends with JJ Redick. If it winds up being JJ, it's a tough job to walk into if the perception is he's LeBron's guy. He got the job because of LeBron. He's got to walk in with credibility. Now, maybe that's a little bit different, obviously, with Dan Hurley walking in with instant credibility, but JJ is going to have a lot of red flags if he winds up being the coach. And so it made a lot of sense for LeBron to push back. No, this isn't, I have no say in this. It's not because JJ is my buddy, nothing, or my podcast partner, whatever. Nothing's going on there. He's going to want to try to fight against that narrative, if only to help JJ, but also for the blame situation. He took a lot of flack for the Russell Westbrook trade for being a guy that was pushing for that deal. And so a lot of the blame wound up falling on LeBron. There were a lot of people who resented LeBron for how poorly that went down. And I think he still stings a little bit from that situation. So he's saying, look, this is the next big decision. This is on the Lakers. I'm not going to put myself in the line of fire here. You guys do whatever is best for you, and then I'll adjust and we'll go from there.
I remember a few years ago, the Lakers could have had Ty Lue. I think if they were going to give him a fourth year and they only wanted to give him a third year, if we shoot the Lakers up with true serum, they got to regret that decision, right? Because it seems like every few years we're in a Lakers coaching conversation with LeBron.
100%. Yeah. Looking back now, they were on the 1 yard line and they fumbled. They were right there, ready to sign Ty Lue, and they got into an argument over how many years it was going to be. They wanted to tie his contract with LeBron's just in case, LeBron decided to leave or something like that. They were also being pretty picky about who assistant coaches would potentially be. And coming off of Luke Walton, that was something that they were concerned about. And so things fell apart, and I think it was a big mistake. I'll tell you this, it was enough of a mistake to where had Ty Lue broken free of the Clippers early on in the process, I think this is already done. This is over. Ty Lue would be the Lakers coach. They would have swooped in on him immediately, because I do think they regret the way that played out. Frank Vogel got them a championship, but Ty Lue was LeBron's guy, and now LeBron's saying, hey, you didn't get me Ty Lue. You didn't get me Kyrie. You even let Jared Dudley and Alex Caruso go. The Lakers have a history of not necessarily doing what LeBron wants. So here we've got LeBron saying, you know what? You guys make the decision here. This isn't about me. And we'll see how this ultimately plays out. But yes, I think they regret not hiring Ty Lue back when they had the chance.
Trevor Lane here with us for a few more minutes. So on Monday from Shams, it was the Lakers are targeting J.J. Redick. Everyone thought it was going to be J.J. Redick. Then today, it's Woj saying that the Lakers are targeting Dan Hurley. ultimately when they have a press conference, hopefully next week or 2 weeks from now, whatever it will be in the coming weeks, who do you think will be the next head coach of the Lakers if you had to take a guess?
If I had to guess now, and I wouldn't have said this yesterday, but if I had to take a guess now, I'd say it's Dan Hurley. I think the Lakers are going to go all out. They're going to do everything they can to land him. It won't be an easy sell, but I think they're going to try to put out an offer that he can't refuse. So I think it is going to be him. And yeah, the reporting wars were fascinating with this one. I liken it like this. I think Woj just went on a 15-0 run on Shams this morning. We'll see how Shams responds as the story progresses here.
How about LeBron's future? It seems like it's 99.9%, just to be safe a little bit, that LeBron is back with the Lakers next year.
Yeah, I think he's going to wind up back in L.A. Now, there's some other attractive options out there. The Philadelphia 76ers have a max contract available. They're going to pursue guys like Paul George, like Jimmy Butler, maybe Brandon Ingram. LeBron will certainly be on that list as well. But looking at the situation, aside from potentially Philly teaming up with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, there's a lot of teams that would love to have LeBron, and every team has to have the conversation about how could we potentially land him. But a lot of the landing spots that we hear, like Phoenix, could they draft Bronny at 22 and then somehow persuade LeBron to head out the 10 freeway and join them in the desert? They only have a veteran minimum salary to offer. There's not many teams that can offer a full max salary and an opportunity to win. And I think ultimately LeBron is a guy who likes being around his family. His family likes being in LA. They like Southern California. I think he's going to wind up right back with the Lakers. It doesn't seem like there's anything to suggest that he won't. I do expect him to opt out of that contract. He's not going to pick up that player option, but that's just to sign a new deal. That will not be cause for alarm. I always expected him to not pick up that player option. I think he's going to sign a new deal with the Lakers, and we'll get that news sometime late June, early July. We'll find out what LeBron's deal is going to look like, whether it's 3 years, 2 years, whatever it is.
And when you envision next year's Lakers, we already talked about the coaching. We already talked about LeBron. Is Bronny with LeBron? Do you think that ends up happening in the draft?
You know, I kind of think it does. I don't know exactly how they're going to get there because Bronny, to his credit, we've seen his draft stock rise. He played pretty well at the NBA Draft Combine. And so I think that getting him with the 55th pick, which is the second round of the Lakers have, may no longer be realistic. Maybe they need to make a move up to get him. But I do think that it could be a way, LeBron, okay, you're not going to be involved in the coaching search as much. You're not going to have as much of a say on players. We're going to focus more around AD. I think this would be a nice gesture by the Lakers to land Bronny, let LeBron accomplish this long-time goal. I know he has walked back his comments there, but he would be thrilled with the opportunity to play with his son. And so I think the Lakers will, within reason, do what they can to make that happen.
Obviously, you have a pulse on the Laker Nation. With Danny Hurley's name getting thrown out there, that's where everyone's attention is going to turn to. If it's not Danny Hurley and it ends up being J.J. Redick, how do you think the Lakers fan would react to that?
There's going to be disappointment at this point if it winds up being J.J. Redick, because so many of the red flags with J.J. about having never coached before and things of that nature. How is he going to manage a locker room? A lot of those concerns, while they're not completely erased with Dan Hurley, they are certainly mitigated by bringing him in. So there's a lot of excitement about him coming on board and excitement about the future direction of the team and this new philosophy about developing a program and really conforming to the new collective bargaining agreement of the NBA and taking advantage of the ability to develop talent and the necessity to develop talent, something the Lakers haven't really relied upon to the same degree as other teams. They've relied on the ability to bring in superstars and kind of believing the rest will just kind of take care of itself. Now, with this new direction with Dan Hurley, if he ends up joining, that will be a push towards really acquiring and developing young talent. And I think there's a lot of people that are excited about that potential direction. So I think there's going to be disappointment from Lakers fans if it does wind up being J.J. Redick at this stage, because there were already so many concerns about whether or not this was the right move to begin with.
Is there a chance that it could be somebody else? Because it seems like if it's Hurley, do you say yes or no? And if he says no, then it's going to be J.J. Redick. But let's be real. No one even thought Hurley was a possibility up until earlier this morning.
Exactly. I mean, it could still be James Borrego. It could still be someone like Sam Cassell. Maybe it does wind up being someone else. But see, at this point, I would have said yesterday, no, it's JJ. That's all we've heard is JJ. It's going to be JJ Redick. I didn't think the Lakers would be able to pull this off, keeping this quiet for as long as they did. So who knows what else they've got hidden out there. So never say never. Maybe there is somebody else that's a backup candidate that we just haven't heard of. Again, I would not have guessed that they've been able to keep something this big quiet for this long, and they pulled it off. So who knows what else they've got scheming in El Segundo right now.
Well, that's the other thing. If they were able to really keep this quiet as long as they said that this was a possibility, the fact that it's out there now, and I know Woj is very close to the Hurley family, like, does that at all make you feel like this is definitely going to happen? Because it wouldn't get out there if it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll say it's definitely going to happen, but it tells me it's very real because Woj's connection with Dan Hurley, that to me, Woj is not publishing this report without talking to Dan Hurley. Hey, you okay if I run with this? Right? Those conversations are going to take
legitimate
place.
legs.
Obviously. Exactly. This is a legitimate and very real possibility of happening. Otherwise, that report does not go out.
Make sure you check out Trevor Lane. He does a great job covering the Lakers, host of Lakers Nation. Trevor, always great to connect with you. Thanks so much.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Zach. Appreciate it.
You got it. There he is, Trevor Lane. A lot of good insight there on the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio with the news brief. Update time, though, first. Hold on. I'm just looking at the act.
What's the matter?
I was just making sure you weren't wearing like a navy blue or anything like that today.
Why navy blue? For the Mavericks?
Well,
or just in general?
UConn more so.
Oh, no. Yeah. Honestly, first clean thing. It was hot. It was humid this morning. I said, what can I wear today?
Yeah, because you've been on a run a few times. When Ack has worn like a certain color polo, there's some news in regards to a team that has
I didn't know anything was going on
it.
today.
Yeah.
We just plain blue. I like your shade of blue there.
Oh, thank you. Maybe this means that the Tar Heels are going to be covering.
There you go.
Getting somewhat.
That's what we like. I don't think Hubert's going anywhere anytime soon. I think we're okay.
All right, here he is, the Ack Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the Lakers coaching search took on a new twist today with today's report that from ESPN that they are targeting UConn head coach Dan Hurley. LA is prepared to make a massive long-term offer, and talks are expected to escalate in the next few days. The Huskies are coming off back-to-back championships, but Hurley has never coached at the NBA level. The Celtics host the Mavericks in Game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. Oh, yeah, that's going on, too. And there are lots of storylines in this one, of course, one being Kyrie Irving facing his former team. There's also Kristaps Porzingis facing his former mates, and also the speculation of a rift between Porzingis and Maverick star Luka Doncic, who refuted that.
You see, that's why I haven't watched a lot of that, because people don't know. I talked to Chandler Parsons maybe twice in my life, so I don't know how he would know that. But me and KP have a good relationship. I don't know what people would say otherwise.
Kansas City Chiefs lineman B.J. Thompson suffered a seizure and cardiac arrest during a special teams meeting. He is fortunately in stable condition right now in a hospital. Baseball today, the Blue Jays edge the Orioles 6-5. The Royals top the Guardians 4-3. And right now the Mariners lead the A's 1-0 top four. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
And this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group right now and get a free timeshare exit information. Get it at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. All righty, let's hear from Danny Hurley. His name is in the news, as he could be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Danny Hurley the other day was on the Mike Francesa podcast, and he revealed he's open to coaching in the NBA.
I do aspire, one day if the right NBA situation were to come along, I do aspire to
really
testing
that's nice
myself.
to know. Really, okay. You'd like to take a shot at the NBA.
I mean, if the right situation where an organization wants a tone setter to to come in and instill a culture, young players and an organization that wants to pursue championships.
Would it have to be in the Northeast with your wife, or would she? Because I don't know if she'd go all over the country, would she?
She's the boss.
Didn't say no, because you'd be going all the way across the country to the Los Angeles Lakers. That is some interesting audio. Play the Larry David music. Let's go to Gino Auriemma. He knows a thing or two about UConn. He also knows a thing or two about Danny Hurley. He was on the Dan Patrick Show, and how convenient. Gino Auriemma last night, not knowing that Danny Hurley was in play for the Lakers job, brought up the Lakers job to him. Listen up.
You know, this is really funny because I happened to be at a thing with him last night. Just leaned over and I said, hey, I think you can win a lot of championships with the Lakers, more so than a guy who's never coached. And he just looked at me and, nodded, and we had a good laugh. And then this morning I wake up and voila. So I don't know what's going on. And it'd be a bad day for UConn for sure if this happens. And it would be a great day for Dan Hurley, and I'm sure a bittersweet day for Dan Hurley.
Do we buy him, Samter? Do we buy Gino Auriemma that he's just sitting there at some bougie event last night and he goes, hey, if the Lakers are going to hire J.J. Redick, he's got no experience. You'd win a lot of championships there. And he reportedly, according to Gino, had no clue that Danny was in play for the Lakers job, and this news was going to come out today.
Gino's a smart man. He has his ear to the grindstone. I'm sure he heard rumors and kind of nudged him. I listened to most, if not all, of that interview, and he said, I didn't know anything that's going on. I don't know anything that's going on. I have no idea what's happening. Many times that when you say it that many times, you clearly know what was going on. He wasn't being asked and saying, I didn't know what was going on. He just kept offering that up, which means to me he knew something, or at least he had heard something, and he was kind of nudging Hurley there.
Put it this way. There has been rumors sometimes around this building that I will hear of. And then there will be some times where I will bring up things to certain people based off the rumors that I've heard about them just to see the reaction that they get. Botch, are you buying that Gino had no clue?
If you have to say, I don't know anything, you know something.
You're not wrong. You're 100% right. Gino Auriemma says the college system is broken. This is on the Dan Patrick Show.
The state of college basketball is a mess. If anybody could manage it, though, it would be Danny, because he coaches this program like it's a high school program, like he coached the St. Benedict's. Their player development program is second to none. But I do think that given the state of college basketball and the amount of money now that it's going to take to be able to put together a national championship team every single year, and without knowing where it's going, it's a charade. This idea of student athlete welfare. Every single thing that comes out of the NCAA's mouth about student athlete welfare, mental, it's bullshit. That has no factor ever anymore. And I never want to hear anybody utter those words associated with college basketball. They are professional athletes, just not called that. So you might as well go coach professional athletes where it's real.
Okay. Well said, Coach Gino Auriemma. Here's Woj on ESPN. Rumors of Danny Hurley to the Lakers.
It's Rob Pelinka. Okay. He has gotten to know Hurley a little bit through talking about draft picks, but watched them, studied them, and throughout this process, that is the coach they've been after. Everybody else has been just essentially due process interviews, due diligence. They want to get Hurley, and they're hopeful they can lock.
Oh, I love that. J.J. Redick goes from being the guy to a due diligence interview. Oh, that's music to my ears. Let's go to Cole Kmet of the Bears on Caleb Williams' competitiveness.
Yeah, getting to know him over the past couple months now has been pretty fun, and you realize how competitive he is. We went to Top Golf the other night, and they were going to close, but he had to finish the game. So we were there till about 1 a.m, finishing the game.
That end, when you talk about who won at Top Golf?
I did. That's why we were there all night.
Was it? Did he want to keep playing?
Yeah. Then they were like, "You guys it's 1 a.m. We got to get out of here." So,
I once had a story told to me. It was by Byron Chamberlain, the former player for the Broncos, about John Elway's competitiveness. That they were once at an event, and they were playing pool, and Elway lost, and then I guess there was a rematch, and he lost again, and the next day Elway threw out the pool set because he couldn't have the pool set still in his house because of the fact that he lost that many times to the same person. So good to hear the competitiveness of Caleb Williams. I'm not leaving until I beat you. Kind of like that from my quarterback, even though I'm not a Bears fan. Here's Louis Riddick on ESPN. The Steelers love Justin Fields.
They are smitten, so to speak, with Justin Fields' potential and his just outright explosive ability to really play the quarterback position, not just throwing, but with his running ability. The best person will play.
I still think Russell Wilson's going to start week 1. How I feel about now Kirk Cousins being with the Falcons, and Kirk's a better quarterback right now than Russell Wilson, but it just seems pointless to me because I'd rather see Michael Penix Jr. play because Michael Penix Jr. is ready to play and he's eventually going to be the guy. For Justin Fields, I don't know if he'll eventually be the guy for the Steelers, but I don't think Russell Wilson is a great quarterback anymore, and there's untapped kind of a ceiling and there's potential with Fields. I'd rather see Fields, quite frankly, over Russell Wilson. And finally, here's Kyle Shanahan on Brandon Ayuk now officially holding out.
Does your view change on Brandon and his status with the team now that this is mandatory and he's not here?
No, to me, it doesn't change at all. I mean, you find out when guys are in those situations where they come or not, and some guys come because they want to avoid a fine and some don't. But regardless, it doesn't change anything. When those guys have come, it's not like we know what the process is, we know what the business part is, and that's just how they decide how they want to handle this week.
Yeah, you got to give Brandon Ayuk a new deal. If you don't, then you either trade him or he eventually shows up and plays and you see how you're going to find a way to not make this a distraction moving forward. So there you go. That's a news brief. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, we have a big final hour of the show on this Thursday. We got to get you set for game 1 of the NBA Finals. I actually think one thing about the Celtics that could change the way without just winning a championship, because that's been the thing. How do the Celtics get credit? Okay, they got to win a championship. I have a way that we're going to be universally praising the Celtics. I don't know if it's going to happen, but there's one way that we could universally praise the Celtics. Seth Greenberg also going to join us 25 minutes from now, scheduled to, and then we will still have a Zach Gelb Show PSA since it is a Thursday, and that's how we'll end the show out in style today. But still 60 minutes to play when we come on back in 5 minutes right here on the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Yo, yo! Hour number 3. It is the Zach Gelb Show right here, Infinity Sports Network. Seth Greenberg scheduled to join us coming up 20 minutes from now. We'll get his reaction on the possibility of Dan Hurley saying goodbye to the Huskies, goodbye to college basketball, and hello to L.A. LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and maybe even Bronny James. So we'll chat it up with Seth Greenberg coming up in about 20 minutes from now. I did see something right before the break, and our big poll question today, which you could find at Zach Gelb, also on INF Sportsnet when you go on the cesspool. That is X, that is Twitter, whatever you want to refer to it as. But the question is, should Dan Hurley leave UConn and take the Lakers job? Right now, 62.6% say no, and 37.4% say yes. I have given my opinion on this already. I don't think Danny Hurley should take the job. I don't. He is the king of college basketball right now. I get it. It's easier to coach in the pros. You'll make more money coaching in the pros. I just don't think Dan Hurley's coaching style, his demanding coaching style, his quirky personality is a fit in the NBA. And what made him so great as a head coach, he is going to have to transform that significantly. Because the NBA is a different breed. A lot of these players now, they like to get coddled. And a demanding coach gets criticized like someone who is Tom Thibodeau. And we've seen all the dialogue around Tibbs throughout all these years. But I didn't think about it this way. And I know Dave McMenamin, today, ESPN reporter, has gone out of his way to make it clear that LeBron James, I roll my eyes at this, but this has been a narrative that's been pushed, is that LeBron doesn't have a say in this coaching search. He is not at talks about the Lakers, reportedly about going out there and hiring Dan Hurley or J.J. Redick. That's what they keep on pushing. But even though I don't believe that, I will also give you something what Kendrick Perkins said today. And I don't think Kendrick Perkins believes what I say either, or what the Lakers are saying either. Kendrick Perkins was on ESPN a few moments ago with Malika Andrews and Richard Jefferson. And he said, here we go again, LeBron weaseling his way into somebody else's moment. Kendrick Perkins believes this news coming out today about the possibility of Dan Hurley getting the Lakers job and how the Lakers are interested is to take away from the NBA Finals and take away from Kyrie Irving's moment of getting back to an NBA Finals, game one tonight, him going up against the Boston Celtics. I'll ask you this, Samter, because you've been around the media game for a long, long time. And we know there are some teams and there are some people that are very, very petty. The Lakers threw Woj today, or the Hurley camp threw Woj today, whatever you want to believe it. This has been kept quiet. But for some reason, this news, which they're telling us, has been out there for a few weeks, and all the other interviews have been due diligent kind of interviews, and they have to go through the process. But Hurley has been the guy that they've targeted. And we've had a long layoff, a long time of waiting for game one of the NBA Finals. Do you think there's something more to it as to why this was the day that the news elected to come out? And this is either the Lakers trying to take some shine away from the Celtics, or, as Kendrick Perkins said, here we go again, LeBron weaseling his way into somebody else's moment.
I don't think it's either of those. I think that the Lakers-Celtics rivalry doesn't really exist in that way anymore.
Oh, I think you're so wrong on that. I think the Lakers-Celtics rivalry is still definitely there.
But maybe not the franchises. They don't.
Yes, they do. They hate each other. Maybe not to the level where Dr. Buss hated them and Red Auerbach hated them, but they hate each other.
I mean maybe, but it feels...
LeBron the other day, I saw some video. He's calling the Dallas Mavericks like the Dallas, Los Angeles Mavericks Lakers because of how much he knows the fan base and people hate the Celtics.
Well, so here's the part of it for me. I don't think it's about Lakers Celtics, and I don't think it's about LeBron trying to jump into somebody's spotlight. I think it's the Lakers saying, hey, LeBron's talking a lot about Kyrie Irving. What if LeBron were to leave and go to the Mavericks or something? What if LeBron wants to go team up with Kyrie and we can't bring him here?
And he talked about Luka, too.
Yeah. Like, this might be the Lakers being like, hey, we need to, make sure we keep LeBron around. He's talking way too much about this guy saying, I wish he was my running mate still. Mm-hmm. I love Luka. I love his game. I want to play with Kyrie again. Maybe the Lakers are worried about losing LeBron.
Could have done that last year.
Yeah.
They could have got Kyrie last year.
Yeah. But, I mean, it seems like there's maybe more smoke there. Maybe the Lakers feel a little bit worried that, hey, we got to get this out there so LeBron knows, so everyone else knows, and kind of get this out there.
I don't think so. I think, you know what this reminds me of? I believe there's a 99 point, you know what, screw it. There's a 100% chance LeBron's back with the Lakers next year. I don't see LeBron going anywhere else. I'm not going to sit here and say 99.9% anymore. But this is what I'll say. This mirrors to me. I'll give you an exact example, something that's a similar situation. When you look at Cowboys and Eagles, and hear me out on this. The Cowboys were out of the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs. There was all this talk about Jason Garrett, and the expectation was Jason Garrett was not going to be back as the head coach's contract was up. The Cowboys waited until right when Eagles and Seahawks kicked off a few years ago. It was when Carson Wentz was the quarterback and Jadeveon Clowney had that late hit and it knocked Wentz out of the game. They waited to make that news public that Garrett wouldn't come back to try to steal the moment from the Eagles. This feels like this is the Lakers, and it's a loser kind of move. It was a loser move by the Cowboys, and it's a loser move by the Lakers. This was the Lakers, I really think, maybe back-channeling to Woj, knowing Woj is close with Hurley, someone in the Lakers organization talking to Woj, hey, you know we're interested in Dan Hurley? And Woj probably said, I didn't know that. And then Woj, because of how close he is with Bob Hurley Sr., Bobby Hurley, and Dan Hurley, probably picked up the phone and said to Dan Hurley, is this true? And Dan Hurley is not going to lie to Woj. Like, that's how close Wojnarowski and the Hurley family is. And I really do believe this was not for Dan Hurley's agenda to take this away from the NBA Finals. I don't think this is LeBron in terms of him weaseling his way into somebody else's moment. Would have been fun if that was the case, because it would be on brand for LeBron James. But I really do believe that this is the Lakers getting so petty in this whole rivalry with the Celtics, where they're like, oh, we can't be there in the finals, so let's try to make it look like we're in the finals by dominating the coverage today. Because this is the number one talking point today in sports. I know that there's been a long layoff. When you look at all these shows today, this network, Fox, ESPN, the lead story, the main story today is Danny Hurley and him potentially going to Lakers. I watched First Take today. It was segment after segment after segment. Danny Hurley, Danny Hurley, Danny Hurley, Danny Hurley, Danny Hurley, Danny Hurley. Mike Greenberg even said, and Get Up, Woj walked in this morning to their studio and said, I have a tweet that I'm about to press send on. He showed it to Mike Greenberg. He goes, but you have in your A block, your B block, your C block, throw it out. This is going to be the entire show today. This is the Lakers. That's really how I think it went down. Someone in the Lakers organization, hey, Woj, I got something you don't know. I got something to tell you that you have no clue. We're interested in Danny Hurley. You go call Danny Hurley and go confirm it. And I think it's them trying to take the moment away from the Celtics.
I mean, if they did this,
Cowboy-like.
If they did this the day after the Celtics won the NBA title, maybe. But to do it before Game 1.
But you don't win there. You don't win there. Game 1, this is leading up to all this coverage and all these shows that are in Boston. People aren't still trying to look to preview the NBA Finals. We've done it for a week.
Exactly.
They're looking for something new.
Right.
And they knew that this would be the perfect landing spot.
So the conversation about the Celtics was boring anyway.
No, but it's taking away from the Celtics moment. It is. That's what it is. The Cowboys did it with the Eagles.
Yeah,
it's a lame loser move.
Over the next week and a half during this series, we're going to be talking about the Celtics every day.
Yes, you will.
So, I mean, it's taking away from the Celtics before Game 1. If they did this after they won the title, like the day after, like that day.
But that wouldn't take, all right, we would definitely talk about it, but who cares? The Celtics won a championship. I'm telling you, this is, the Cowboys did it with the Eagles, and now the Lakers are doing it with the Celtics. All righty, I want to touch on the Celtics, though, because we will spend 5 minutes here talking about the NBA Finals. The Celtics all year have gotten zero praise. They've been the best team in the East and the NBA by a wide margin. But with that being said, them not getting praise, it's not been unfair. Because the Celtics have been there. They've been great. They've been to the conference finals. They have been to an NBA finals with this group. But with Tatum and Brown leading the way in many different variations of this team, they have come up short. They have not got the job done. Originally, the Celtics overachieved. Now they've been starting to underachieve. And it does not hurt when, help in your 3 playoff series, the Heat were without Jimmy Butler, the Cavs missed Donovan Mitchell and others for 2 games, and their most recent series up against the Pacers, Halliburton was out for the last 2. The road for the Celtics was super duper easy. What am I supposed to praise them about? Doing what they were supposed to do? So there has been this conversation of, have the Celtics been disrespected? And it does feel like a ton of people are picking the Mavs to win the NBA Finals. So this is how the Celtics could shut everybody up. And everyone's going to tell you, oh, you got to go win 4 more games. Yeah, obviously you got to win 4 more games. But to get immediate praise and to really, I think, shift the conversation and people start to praise you out the wazoo, you go do what you failed to do in the first 2 rounds. And in the first 2 rounds, they did not protect home court in the first 2 games. Like if the Celtics win tonight, and let's say they win by the skin of their teeth, people are going to say then going into game 2, I'm not ready still to fully buy in on the Celtics. So they won game 1, praise them, but the Mavs could have done this and this and this to go get the victory. Even if the Celtics lose tonight, I could tell you everyone's take tomorrow. See, they're fraudulent. See, this is why I was out in the Celtics. So the Celtics in game 1, as stupid as this sounds, are in a lose-lose situation. Because if they win by a few, people are still going to question them going into game 2. And if you lose, that's the ammunition that everyone needed to just slam the Celtics again. So here's what I want to see from the Celtics. This would be a good test from the Celtics. And just because you go up 2-0 in the series doesn't mean you get the job done. Right? We remember the Mavs were once up 2-0 in an NBA Finals up against the Miami Heat. And you saw Dwayne Wade and Shaquille O'Neal go back and win that series. I want to see the Celtics take a commanding 2-0 series lead here. I want to see the Celtics on their home court with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving walking into their building. I want to see the Celtics take a 2-0 lead. Because the Celtics taking a 2-0 lead against the Pacers, so what? The Pacers, if the Knicks were healthy, no offense, Indiana, you wouldn't have been there. It took you 7 to beat the Knicks, who were the walking wounded. It was easier to say who was healthy for the Knicks rather than who was hurt. And it still took you 7 games to beat them. But the Celtics could finally get their first moment of praise this season. National praise. If they take a 2-0 series lead. And that would shut a lot of people up. So that's what I want to see. I want to see Boston win game 1. And I want to see them win game 2. I think that would be very fun from a coverage standpoint. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back 5 minutes from now, we are scheduled to be joined by the former college basketball coach in Seth Greenberg. Should Dan Hurley take the Los Angeles Lakers job? And if so, who will replace Dan Hurley at UConn? Who will be the guy that takes over for Dan Hurley, who has just won back-to-back national championships? And Dan Hurley leaving, if he does, what does that say about coaching in college sports now when you have to navigate NIL and the transfer portal? So we got a whole lot more to do. We got about 45 minutes still left to play in this extravaganza. It is the Zach Gelb Show. 855-212-4227 is where you connect with us. 855-212-4227. If you're not following us on social media, make sure you do so. Instagram and Twitter, even on TikTok, at Zach Gelb, ZACHGELB. And if you miss any of the show, you could always, for 24 hours when the show does end, you could use the rewind function on the Odyssey app, the free Odyssey app. And we're also available all places where you could find your podcast. I do have a podcast link to each and every segment that we do on the show on my Twitter page, at Zach Gelb. Once again, that's ZACHGELB. But first, we'll take a break and we'll come on back with Seth Greenberg.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Infinity Sports Network.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We're reacting to this Danny Hurley story that he could be the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Lakers are definitely interested in the back-to-back national championship winning coach with the UConn Huskies. We'll see what happens in the next few days. Let's go out to ESPN's very own Seth Greenberg, former college basketball coach. Always enjoy when we get Seth on the show. Seth, how you been, my friend?
Any better, I couldn't stand it. Life is good. Can't complain.
Well, how about this news today? Like, when you saw this Woj bomb earlier this morning, what was your first reaction that the Lakers are trying to get Danny Hurley to be their next head coach?
Interesting. I think was my first reaction. That look, if I was athletic director, if I was NBA general manager, Danny Hurley would be someone that would be on my radar. He's a savant. He's a terrific coach. He does a great job in terms of player development. He creates culture. He creates identity. His teams play hard. They play selfishly. They compete. They don't take plays off. So, again, I don't know what the pool of candidates in the NBA as well as I do maybe in college, but Danny Hurley is a terrific coach, and at least you would want to have a conversation to see if he's interested, no matter where you were coaching or whom you were looking for, to hire as a head coach.
I love Danny Hurley. I love his demanding presence. I love how he has a little bit of a quirky personality. Danny Hurley, to me, is the perfect college coach. I do wonder, though, how that style would fit in the NBA, especially with this era of NBA players. If he does take the Lakers job, what do you think he's going to have to adapt and change with what he currently does?
Danny Hurley's really a smart guy. Agility, everyone needs agility in whatever you do. I mean, think about where you are when you started and what you were doing at every level. At each level you move up, you have agility to change and adapt. And that's exactly what Danny Hurley will do. There's a difference between coaching 32 games in the regular season or 31 and coaching 82. There's a difference between coaching 18, 19, and 20-year-olds and coaching grown men. But the coaching part of it doesn't change. The accountability part of it doesn't change. The messaging part of it doesn't change. Yeah, look, in the NBA, you have 4 practices, and you turn around and you play your first exhibition game. Then you got 2 more practices, and you play another. And, you're going to play 4 exhibition games or whatever, and you're going to play an 82-game schedule. And, you're going to have probably 100 to 110 games that you're going to coach if you make a deep run in the playoffs. And you're going to probably only have 60 full practices, if you have 60 full practices. So he's going to have to adjust and show agility, but he's innovative. He has a gift, and the gift to me is his ability to connect with people. You can talk about the stuff with the officials, and he's going to understand. Until the playoffs, you can't talk to the officials like that. Once the playoffs start, you can say anything you want to the officials. That's just the truth. And whether the NBA wants to admit it or not, it's a totally different game. How it's coached, how it's played, and how it's officiated, and what the officials put up with in the playoffs is very different than what happens during the regular season, 82-game schedule. But he'll sit in a film session, and he won't be afraid to say, hey, LeBron, you got to get your blank back. All right, because if you don't get your blank back, then all of a sudden, we're playing 5-on-4, and Anthony Davis is getting in foul trouble. He'll hold people accountable. He'll coach guys, and I think they'll respect him. Now, you're only as good as your locker room. He's going to need to have a say in personnel. In college, your assistant coaches need to know who can play for the head coach. In the NBA, your general manager and personnel people need to know who can play for the head coach. So, I think, having the symmetry and the connectivity with, Rob Pelinka and his scouting staff is going to be really important. And then being surrounded by people that he trusts. They can't tell him who to hire. I think he has a model probably in his mind. Well, I do know he has a model in his mind in terms of the type of staff he wants. But he's got to choose his own coaches because he's got to trust his own coaches, and he's got to believe in his own coaches, and his coaches have to believe in him. So, because he's going to hold them accountable as well. Like the great line he had in our piece that we did for College Game Days, he said, his responsibility is not to, have people work hard. His responsibility is to get their very best effort each and every day. And that's what he's going to expect of everyone involved in the program.
Seth Greenberg here with us. He'd make more money coaching with the Lakers. It's also an easier lifestyle now with name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal. But he has UConn, right, humming. UConn is a blue blood, and he's the king at UConn, and there's a bunch of different factors like you were alluding to with going to the pros. If you were in his position, what do you think you would do? Would you stay at UConn, or would you go for the easier lifestyle and the more money with the Lakers?
I don't know if it's an easier lifestyle. You're talking about 82 games, 100 games. You're talking about a microscope of being in LA where everything you do is going to be evaluated, and maybe some people are going to wait for you to fail. I'm going to tell you what I told him. I can't tell you the answer to that question. That's between you, Andrea, the kids, and your gut. The money is going to be, look, UConn's paying him well. He's got a great recruiting class. They got a legitimate chance to three-peat. But also, Danny makes good points. His life's about experiences. and this would be a unique experience. How many people have a chance to coach the Los Angeles Lakers? There are three, to me, iconic franchises in the NBA. Celtics, the Knicks, and the Lakers. And, that's really hard to turn down. As my wife had said, like, they're the Lakers.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, sometimes you don't want to mess with happy. Yeah, look, college basketball has changed. And being in the Big East is a part of that change. There's two ways to look at it because, look, the television contract in the Big East is about $5 million or so. All right? You don't have the SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC money. All right? So if the new, the rules that are going to go in with the NCAA with, collective bargaining of, $22 million or whatever it is, well, maybe that, if you don't have football, you're going to get all that money for basketball, which is a positive. Or can you generate that money? Because how are you going to generate that money? Because, when you're looking at UConn and the amount of money they're going to have to pay Danny, how the amount of money they're going to have to pay the staff, right? Here becomes a problem. You only have so many revenue streams. UConn doesn't have John Tyson. They don't have Jerry Jones. They don't have Matt Ishbia, although Izzo doesn't use Matt Ishbia. They don't have those guys that are just going to write a blank check. They've got to do it, by doing basically different events, whether it's meet and greets at his house, whether it's the dinner they're going to have, in a week from now to raise money and celebrate the championship team. But, you want to retain Alex Caravan, you know what? There's a cost of that. You want to recruit good players, there's a cost of it. Now, to be honest with you, he's got some guys on discounts because the amount of money that a collective can pay you compared to if you develop and you're a pro pales. So, to me, what they've built at UConn is a sustainable program, but it is harder in the Big East where you do not have that Power 5 money coming in on a yearly basis because you've got to find revenue streams to be supportive of what you're trying to do, and that's basically continued success and excellence.
Talking to Seth Greenberg. Did I hear you say that right? You've talked to him this morning since this news is broke?
Yeah, I did.
What was that conversation like?
That's between me and Danny Hurley.
Well, then let me ask you this. What does your gut tell you? You think he's going or you think he's staying, Seth?
I think he'll sit and he'll meet with those people, and Andrea will sit and listen to him, and he'll come back home and he'll decide whether the opportunity and the challenge that it would be presented to him is something that he would like to embrace. I never put words in other people's mouths. You're talking about his life, his family, his decision-making process. Lakers are hard to say no to, but having a chance to three-peat is hard to say no to. There's uncertainties on both ends. Rob Pelinka's got a risk by hiring local. People say, well, Dan Hurley, he's a college coach. He is. Where was the last college coach that had success? Well, Brad Stevens. Well, Brad Stevens was laid back. Dan Hurley's a really smart guy, and he'll figure that out. But I don't like to tell people what they should do. What I like to do in the people that I have relationships with, like I have with Dan, is I give him my opinions on pros and cons, and he has no bad decision. And that's how I feel, and that's the respect that I have for him. And I respect that I have the relationship I have with him. I don't think it's my place to do that.
You know what that sounds like to me? If he does take the Lakers job, I think you may be going Hollywood on us. You may be on his staff. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, he's got good people. He's a smart guy.
If he does leave, who do you kind of look at that UConn should look at to replace Danny Hurley if he does take the Lakers job?
I think the first person, you got to sit and talk to the guys on the staff, whether it's Luke or Kamani, and then you got to go from there. And at this time of the year when people have recruited their teams, it's hard to move someone. So, and those guys have started practices. Most of the guys have started practices. So that's another rule where I'm different than maybe a guy that hasn't coached. I would not disrespect someone who's sitting in a job, working around his team to say, well, the job opens up. I think he'd be, I have people in mind. And I might share that with someone, but I'm not going to share that in a public forum because I have too much respect and know how difficult the job is that I would not want to put that that messaging out is that guy might have to go to workouts tomorrow with the team. It's not the right thing to do.
Gotcha. No, I respect that.
I'll leave that to all the gurus.
Well, I came up with 5 names. I know you're not going to comment on them. I respect what you said, but I had Kamani Young, Scott Drew, Patino, Kim English, and Bruce Pearl. Those were the 5 names that I thought of when I was giving it some thought in the hot take industry that we're in, Seth.
All right, that's good. And I could sit there and I could have an opinion on all of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll keep my opinions to myself.
You got it. Last thing I'll ask you, though. NBA Finals Game 1, when you look at the entirety of this series, where do you lean right now with your basketball acumen? Do you go with the Celtics or the Mavs to hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy?
I like the Mavs. I think they got the toughest matchup in terms of Luka Doncic. I don't think that the Celtics have a matchup. They got a decision to make. Do you run a second team, a double at him, and get the ball out of his hands and make him a passer and play 4-on-3 behind you? I think that if Drew Holiday defends Kyrie, obviously that'll be an interesting matchup to watch. If you try to make it hard for Kyrie to catch the basketball, he's still going to catch it in open floor in drags and ISOs and kickouts. The thing about Luka is that you put White on him, he's too big and physical. You put Brown on him, you can get him in foul trouble. Porzingis is a question mark for me because he just hasn't played. I do love Al Horford, and I do love what the job that Joe Mazzulla's done. Any people that take shots at third shade of Joe Mazzulla, I think it's insulting. He's done a terrific job. I think Jay Kidd has done a great job.
Yeah,
they've gotten to the chance where they're 7 games away, but I think that Kyrie and Luka at their very best, to me, and I'm a huge, you and I talked about Jason Tatum when he was coming out of college.
Yeah.
I told you I would have taken him with the first pick. I just think that those two guys, Luka and Kyrie, are almost impossible to game plan for when they are playing well. And then those guys, they've done a great system of playing off of them because of their spacing. And Luka's size and his ability to see over and around and create passing lanes off doubles has been really impressive.
He's Seth Greenberg. You catch him on ESPN. Always does a great job talking college hoops, and then they even sprinkle him in with a little NBA this time of the year. Coach, we appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Hey, it's not every day I can, hang out with big timers. I mean, I knew you back in the day. Now, bigger than life. You're in great shape. You're lifting. You're running. You're a media mogul. You're killing it. I'm really proud of you. You're doing a great job. I enjoy having you coming on.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks so much, Seth Greenberg. And no, I do not cut Seth a check all the time for all those nice things that he does say about me, but appreciate Seth joining us. What I take away from that conversation is this. This is a serious decision for Danny Hurley, and he's tapping into everybody in his circle, and Seth is a part of his circle. I would love to have tapped in on Seth. If I was talking to Seth this morning. If I knew, Seth Greenberg went from talking to me to Danny Hurley, I would have just stayed on the phone. I would have tapped in. I would have hacked his phone or something like that. So that's what I take away from it, that obviously this is a legitimate interest for not only the Lakers, they should be interested, but for Danny Hurley. And this is going to be a tough decision that he makes. I really do want, Samter, I really do wonder if we could maybe get a few alcoholic or alcohol drinks into the system of one Seth Greenberg, and we got him going a little bit, and he wasn't on a national platform, what he actually thinks Danny's going to do. What do you think right now? Let's go around the room. Next week, is Danny Hurley the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers? We'll go to Samter first.
No.
Okay. Botcher?
No.
Ooh. Ack?
Definitely not.
Man. I think this is the first time I'm going to say this. I led the show. I don't think he should take it, and I don't think he will be the coach. But I can't be the one when I have Botcher say no, Samter say no, and Act to be no, for then, if he does take the job, all of it look like we were all saying he was going back to UConn. I think he's going to be the next coach of the Lakers. I do. That's usually how this stuff works. If I said no, definitely going to be the next coach of the Lakers. But now since they say he will be the coach of Lakers, you three will probably end up being right.
Well, so now the fact of the matter is, when he's not the next coach of the Lakers, you're going to be the only one here in the room who said he was, and we're going to just lord that over you for the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Remember who controls how much airtime you get on the air. I'm just teasing. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will come on back. We will end the show out in style with a little Zach Gelb Show PSA on this Thursday. Update time first. Here he is. The great Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
I'll be here next week. Danny Hurley might not be around for UConn's quest for a three-peat, with ESPN reporting the Lakers are preparing a massive long-term deal for the UConn coach. The two sides have had preliminary talks, and those are expected to escalate in the coming days. The NBA Finals open tonight in Boston, with the Celtics going for their 18th championship against the Mavericks. The Celtics are a proud franchise, but also one that has just one title in the last 38 years. That was back in 2008. They came close 2 years ago, and that loss still haunts Jason Tatum.
I hate that I had to go through it. I wish we would have won. But I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. There's a lesson to be learned in every situation, and I do feel a lot different this time, this go around 2 years later.
And the Celtics expect to have Kristaps Porzingis back for Game 1. The Mavericks are in the finals for the first time since winning it all in 2011, when Jason Kidd was a player. Baseball today, the Blue Jays top the Orioles 6-5, while the Royals edge the Guardians 4-3. Right now, in the top of the 8th, it's the Mariners 2, A's nothing. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey sports fans, it's JR from the JR Sport Brief. Check us out 24/7 on your smart speaker. Just say, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh, my God, we're back again.
Alrighty, wrapping up shop on this Thursday, game 1 of the NBA Finals tonight. I do like the Celtics to win this series in 6 games. And we'll have a whole lot to react to tomorrow as we will finally have a game in the books with the NBA Finals. It has taken a very, 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 very long time to get to game 1. And I almost forgot, how many games the Western Conference Finals did go with how long of a layoff we've had since the last time we've seen basketball. But anyway, without further ado, I'm not talking about Freddie ado. It is a Thursday, so let's get to a Zach Gelb Show PSA.
It's a Thursday. What do you have to say? It's the weekly Zach Gelb Show PSA.
Who's with me? Let's go! Come on! Hey!
So there's a 7-Eleven that's 2 blocks from where I live. And I was in the 7-Eleven, and there was an issue with their system where I gave my credit card, and for some reason their system froze. So I said I could pay cash. I had $10 in my wallet. I was getting, a bag of popcorn and a water. So I could have paid in cash. And they go, no, since the card already was inserted, we got to make sure that it didn't go through because then you're going to get charged and pay cash. So it took 10 minutes. And during that 10 minutes, I witnessed the robbery. But it wasn't everyone down. I'm gonna kill you if you don't let me get all this item or give me your money. It wasn't one of those robberies. This guy walked into a store and he robs the 7-Eleven every day because he walked in and I heard the person behind the counter go, "Oh, your best friend's here." And they go, "Ugh, this guy again?" So I'm sitting there, and I'm a little nosy, and I go, "Well, what's the deal here?" They go, "This guy 2 years ago when the store opens, he would come in every day. He would take something and go out. They called the police. By the time the police come, the guy's already out of the store. The guy went to jail, actually, for something else for like 4 months, has come back, no shame, robs the store every day. Walks in, takes a sandwich, takes pretzels, like takes drinks, takes ice cream, whatever. And here I am sitting there after wanting a popcorn and a water, and they're making me wait because their machine is frozen, and they won't just give it to me for free. But here's my PSA. And you know what? This is the funniest part about it. There's a homeless guy that stands outside the 7-Eleven that opens the door, closes the door, tries to get people to give him like $1 or, a few dollars, something like that. He opens up the door after the guy that robs a 7-Eleven daily, and he goes, "Oh, it's that jackass again?" He goes, "I'm going to just pop him in the face one day." I'm like, yeah, sure you are. So here's my PSA. If you were going to walk in to a 7-Eleven and you're just going to rob them every day, you should be in jail. All right? Like, it's ridiculous. And how do these employees not walk up to the guy and go, "No, get out"? Or if they know when this guy's like about to walk in because he does it every day at the same time, how don't you have a police officer there waiting? It's like inconceivable to me. I don't really even know what the damn PSA is, but it's just a story that I've been waiting to tell all week. And it's just amazing to me how this guy walks into the 7-Eleven every day for 2 years, besides a 4-month span when the guy was in the slammer, and this guy still does so. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So that was the story.
I mean, listen, if you're getting paid like minimum wage or whatever to work at a 7-Eleven and some guy walks in, I mean, you're really going to confront them. Now, if you own the 7-Eleven, because a lot of times the people who work the counter...
where's the damn owner?
Yeah, the owner, I would imagine. But, like, someone who's working the counter, they have no incentive to do that.
I almost want to walk in there today and just be like, "Oh, I need a water, need a thing of M&Ms," and just walk out and see if anything happens. Now, I won't do that because I'm not a loser. But I almost want to do that. Anyway, Samter, what's your PSA?
All right, so obviously, as you guys know, because I've talked about it a lot, I've moved.
Oh, you moved?
Yeah.
I had no clue.
In case you had no idea. And when you move, you obviously have to get new furniture. And nowadays, unless you go into a furniture store...
Time out. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this PSA something to do with the guy that you called before the show?
No.
Okay, because you called someone about some part of the move I overheard, and I was just confused.
No, it's not about the mortgage and the loan. That was nothing crazy.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, this had nothing to do with that. This was just the vast majority of stuff that you order. IKEA, Wayfair, Amazon, all these other companies. The vast majority of stuff that you get, whether it's a small table or even a dining room table, they come in boxes.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to put it together.
We got a dining room table, like a table. It came in 3 different boxes. One, the big slab of marble in one box, and we got the base in another box, all the chairs in another box. They had like 3,000 screws. I don't know if you guys saw me earlier today. I was walking around with a bandage on my arm.
Oh,
because I'm old, but also because I injured myself just from screwing the 70,000 screws over and over and over and over. It's like, come on, give me some better tool than those little tiny mini, Allen wrenches that you have to like squeeze in there in your arms or you're underneath the thing.
Yeah, but that's kind of like fit to your hand. Like if that's me with the little screw with the big hand.
Yeah, when you do it once or twice, fine. But when you do it 40,000 times in 10 minutes, it took me 5 hours to put this table and chairs together last night. I couldn't pick up my daughter this morning because my arm hurt so bad from turning the screws. I had to ice my arm, I had to heat my arm, I had to put lotion on my arm, I had to wrap my arm. It was a bad day, all because of screws. I hate having. I don't mind putting together furniture. I just hate all the screwing and stuff. It's crazy.
Can you build it? No, you can't. Jeez. That's rough. You got hurt trying to put together your furniture? Can you try to saw something later? See if you chop off a finger or something like that? You end up like JPP with fireworks and things like that? Just see how that goes. Anyway, Botcher, what do you got?
When you plan something, like going to a boardwalk, and you say, "Oh, we're all going to arrive at 3 o'clock." So I take the train in. They're coming from deep Long Island.
Friends here? Significant other?
Just friends.
Okay, gotcha.
And they show up 55 minutes late after telling me they'll be there in 5 minutes at 2:55. So they're like, "Oh, we'll be there right on time at 3 o'clock." And they don't get there till 4 o'clock, basically.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
So an hour late?
An hour late.
So your PSA is
when people say they're going to be there, don't lie when you're actually 15 to 30 minutes away. For them, it was 45 to an hour.
Oh, geez.
Don't lie about the time it takes to get somewhere. I was sitting outside doing
15-minute grace period, I think.
15.
Now, are these people notoriously known for always being late? Like, because I have a friend who we always know is going to be late, so we tell him 30 minutes before we actually want him to show up.
They're actually not that bad.
Okay.
So I'm not. I'm kind of surprised, but with traffic, I kind of get it. At the same time, no. When it's
an hour,
45 to an hour, you could have prepared a lot better.
That ain't traffic. They're just being a bad friend. So anyway, that is a Zach Gelb Show PSA on this Thursday. An hour late. Where were they coming from?
Like New Hyde Park, a little bit by there.
And they were going to a boardwalk. What, Jones
Coney
Beach?
Island.
Oh, come on. An hour late?
It was pretty bad. I was like, what am I doing here?
An hour late, though? And they were driving. And you
drove in, got stuck on the belt. I took the train because I'm coming from the city. And it was just the worst.
Okay, gotcha. Well, sorry about that. I'll play my small violin for you having to wait a little bit and Samter not being able to screw things. That didn't sound
You could have
right.
robbed something.
Yeah, I could have stopped the person robbing it. Oh, that's the other part of the story. When I'm leaving, because I guess the guy that robbed the store, he had a mask on. I was like a block then from my apartment, and I felt like someone just like walking like right behind me, and I turned around, and then I felt like it was the guy who robbed the store because like he said something to me, and I'm like, hey buddy, like I don't care what's happening, I just want to get home. I didn't want to have to deal in the middle of that kerfuffle that's going on. Anyway, it is the Zach Gelb Show, the Infinity Sports Network. Good show today. Big thanks to Seth Greenberg for stopping by. Big thanks to Trevor Lane for stopping by. Chris Brockman as well. And a big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. Also, a big thank you to Moist Mike and Ryan Botcher for producing this extravaganza. All righty, we will have Game 1 of the NBA Finals to react to on a big Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show mañana. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the game, I should say. And big thank you for tuning in today. We'll talk to you, everybody, mañana at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on the Infinity Sports Network. I'm Zach Gelb. JR up next. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.